Next, Mayor Tim Keller of Albuquerque to give a few words again. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Sister Cities. This is wonderful to see everyone. And I know folks have acknowledged this before, but I just want to say, like, we're in person. I can see your smiling faces. We're also outside and safe. But, like, this is really, really special to be back again celebrating all things Sister Cities. And I want to touch on just a couple of things. Number one, of course, this is our governor's mansion. And yes, it is a living residence, in case you're curious. I love our history, so since you're from out of town, I got to share with you a little bit. And it's very New Mexico. So this architecture, this territorial architecture, basically everything you see is really only found in New Mexico. And as our Mexican nationals know, is distinctly different, actually, than even old Mexico. So enjoy and pick up on the subtleties and celebrate what I think is a wonderful piece of our state. And it's also very humble. If you've been to other governor mansions, they're like giant and so forth. This thing's actually really small. And so we also kind of say, it fits. It's who we are. We don't have an obnoxious governor's mansion.
At least it has a doggy door.
Yeah, it's got a doggy door. I mean, it's got, amenities that we care about. Horse stables. This is what we do in New Mexico. So let me share a little bit just about Sister Cities. Number one in my life, as the mayor of Albuquerque, not to be confused with your host mayor, I'm your airport host mayor. As most of you flew through the Sunport, run by the city of Albuquerque.
Temporarily.
And this for the next 10 years before San Jose catches us. Now, for me though, I do want to share Sister Cities is very special to me. I happened to spend a long time in my life going to 97 countries, and living in 5 different countries, including Russia, including Cambodia. And so when I, later ended up in this role, I immediately wanted to engage in the Sister Cities program because I do believe in the power of individual civilian diplomacy. And even if it is just in terms of goodwill or connecting stories and heritage, that alone is a worthy goal. But I also want to mention 2 areas where obviously that goal is much loftier, and it should be. The first one was during COVID, and I'm sure everyone who's involved with Sister Cities saw this. I was so profoundly grateful, but also awestruck at the generosity and compassion from our Sister Cities during COVID. I'm getting boxes of face masks from Taiwan. The whole mayor's office was filled with face masks and sanitizer. And, we didn't ask for that. They volunteered it, and obviously what we could use, we ended up giving out. This was just part of their Sister Cities relationship, and of course we try and return that too. But even with our sister city in Japan, it was very similar. The amount of empathy and sympathy that we received. And even the little things, whether it's a little note about re-election, or it's a note about what's happening in America, and sort of a thoughts and prayers equivalent depending on the country. COVID, to me, I felt that we were in it together as sister cities, as family. Even despite the obvious geographic differences and language differences, the most powerful sister cities experiences I've had, even though I've been on some great trips, were the Zoom calls during COVID. They were extraordinary. And, we're sharing what we're going through. We're using a translator, of course, and all of this stuff. But oddly, I connected more with ours in Taiwan and Japan than we ever did during those times. And we shed tears together about what we were going through and about what our world was going through. And that, of course, makes me also think about what's happening in Ukraine. I'm sure this isn't like a political venue, so don't worry, I'm not going to say a bunch of controversial stuff. But look, I wish we had more sister cities in Ukraine, right? I wish we could all help them more. There are ways you can help now. So Tim Quigley, I think he's here, if I got his name right. Tim, give us a wave at least. If you haven't met him, first give a round of applause for our sister cities. But through the appropriate committee structure and the cities that we are in touch with, there is certainly an opportunity for rebuilding, and an opportunity I hope we get for sister cities to be heavily engaged. Maybe it's one of those where in a special, anomalous way for 10 or 20 years we can, triple the number of Ukrainian sister cities or something like that. But I mention this also because I wish that I would have kind of seen this coming a little more in advance, right? We know there are certain countries where we have sister cities relationships where they are on the cusp of possible peril. And I know for me and our 10 sister cities, I'm going to really think about this and try and see if there's anything we can do in any way in advance of potential strife and struggle. And I think that's something we can all do, so that we have a relationship going into hard times and going into conflict. And that's also why we have a renewed interest in Turkmenistan, for example, in our sister city there. So I just mentioned that because I think we can use this not only directly as we move forward to find different ways to help cities in particular countries that need it most, but also try and do our tiny part to try and mitigate the damage that's done and the conflict that occurs. And I think that's true to the founding of sister cities. So with that, I know you're all here because you believe that and because we believe in sister cities. So thank you for that belief, and thank you so much for joining us in New Mexico. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Big round of applause for Mayor Keller. So I'd also like to acknowledge another mayor we have of a city that's very special to me and to what has raised me and shaped me as being a child of the border. Growing up in El Paso, Texas is to be part of the largest binational community in the entire world. Close to 3 million people live between El Paso and our sister city, Ciudad Juarez. We recently have re-signed and re-engaged that sister city agreement, culminating in the first ever joint city council meeting between both of our cities. And I would like to acknowledge Mayor Cuellar Juarez for being here today. Thank you for being here. There's a tremendous value, I think, in growing up and living on the border, and I think that we have a beautiful moment to recognize and celebrate the fact that both of our cities work well together, not in spite of being on the border, but being at the border. And it's because of our proximity to each other that we're able to create something beautiful and wonderful for both of our cities and our communities as well. I would like to take this time also to acknowledge the other elected officials that we have here, Mayor Pro Tem Lindell, as well as Councilman Garcia of Santa Fe. Thank you for both being here today. I also would like to recognize Representative Henry Rivera of El Paso, Texas, who has joined us today as well. If there's any other elected officials that are here that I did not recognize at this point?
Yes. Joseph Maestas, who is the Vice Chairman of the Public Regulation Commission and just got the Democratic nomination to be our state auditor.
So, what a beautiful moment that we're here. Really honored to be able to be here. I'll tell you that I never in my life thought I would be able to represent an organization like this here today. Growing up as the son of immigrants, my mother, who's the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, my father, who was born and raised in Argentina and had an opportunity to start his career and raise his family in America. To be able to represent a group such as Sister Cities is probably the honor of a lifetime. It's not something that I take lightly, and it's something that truly matters because each and every one of us cares, right? Our organization is founded upon the power of volunteers and citizen diplomats. So we'd like to thank you all for being here. Again, we have some great programming. If we don't see you October 11th to the 14th in San Diego, Tijuana, there's also another summit in Cape Town, South Africa for the Sister Cities Africa Summit. That is being organized with Linda Johnson and Sister Cities Africa. That's February 20th through the 24th as well.